What is up, Draconics? My name is Zagger the Dragon, aka Drago, and welcome to Monster Hunter, a game where, and you'll never believe this, you hunt monsters! Like, genuinely, that's like 90% of this game's entire premise. Also, this game is just so incredibly long that I had to make this video a two-parter. Anyways, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, leave a comment if you feel like, and if you enjoy comfy t-shirts and cool mouse pads, I have an Etsy page, a link in the description below. Also, before we start, I feel it worth noting that making this video was my first time ever using a VTube model. The reason I say that is because it would be over the course of making this video that I would figure out things like lip sync calibration, how to calibrate the hand tracking, although as you can see I can barely figure that out. Yeah, so the next time you see me appear on screen for a couple times, it's going to look a little janky, at least in comparison to what you're looking at right now. With all that out of the way, it is now time to sit back, relax, and enjoy my first ever experience in the Monster Hunter world.
Sisters and brothers of the Fifth Fleet, it's time. I'll keep my farewell brief. Never was much with words. Once you board this ship, there's no turning back. The next ground your feet will touch will be that of the New World.
We open on one of the ships within the Fifth Fleet en route to the New World with a bunch of A-rank hunters on board. As these hunters prepare themselves, we then pan over to me, drinking away my sorrows after having gotten a bunch of Pokemon killed, before this chipper young chap decides to introduce himself, prompting me to introduce myself.
New World by the horns? Don't know about you. It feels like ages since I left home to join the commission. So, nervous?
Not particularly.
Believe you me, I get it. Anything could happen to us, but hey, that's happened.
Hey, aren't you one of the A-list hunters?
What? No way! So are we!
Huh.
Hey! Tell us your name!
Which leads us into character creation. Or alternatively, this hot garbage. I was then supposed to make something called a Palico? I just hit randomize a few times and named him Henry. With my character created, we have a toast, and my attention is then got by this individual who claims that we will be hitting land soon. As she introduces herself as another A-lister, we crash into something. That something, a giant magma creature. As this creature rises from the water, not really seeming to notice us, the boat completely gets turned over. Oh, Henry! Henry! We then got knocked off the boat, and I think it's high time I figure out what this thing on my arm does. Oh, it's a grappling hook. Neat! So as this creature moves around, we're just climbing around it, trying not to get bucked off, where finally we get to the top of its head, where I proceed to do some pretty cool parkour.
Let's go. Get a good running start, then jump.
Yee-hoo! Oh, that was sick. Oh, do you not have a grappling hook? Oh, that is awesome. What have we here? Having gotten away from Magma Cthulhu, we now get a good look at the luscious jungle which greets us here in the New World. Until the Wyvern decides it doesn't want to be a taxi service anymore and drops us. But rather conveniently, it drops us off right near a camp. We get our hands on a map which allows us to chart the path we need in order to get to the settlement. It is here that we are officially introduced with the Ancient Forest Biome, a place chock full of these dinosaur-looking things. As we mosey along in the direction we're supposed to go, I take the opportunity to pick up whatever loot I can find. Having crossed the expanse, we need to cut through a little bit of jungle where we are jumped by Jagras, and I am forced to learn the art of stealth as I become prey to these creatures instead of the art of combat. But mark my words, for when next we meet Jagras, you will be the prey. As we're about to get close to home base, one of the Jagras comes out and tackles the handler, and because I don't really have any actual weapons, I can't actually do anything about this, so it's a darn good thing this guy shows up.
Don't mind me.
Oh, hey, buddy.
This way, hurry.
Okay, let's go.
Don't mind if I do. Alright, let's go. I have a weapon. I have a knife.
Move.
Or is that strictly for resource gathering purposes.
Good. What are you waiting for?
Hi there! Hello, Rexy. Frick, come on. Move it! Move it, dang it! Move! Come on. Alright, well done. And so, in one piece, I finally made it to the main settlement of the New World, Astra, where it turns out I was the final person to show up. I was then introduced to this man, the chief of this place. Apparently he saw me on the ship, knew I was stranded, but figured I could handle myself because he's good at telling who's a survivor. Sir, I know absolutely nothing about this world. What about me looks capable to you? We're then given a grand tour of the place, the first stop being the Forge, a place where I could take the parts of creatures that I've killed and turn them into armor and or weapons. We're then taken to the food court, where I can take the meat of creatures I've killed, as well as herbs I found out in the wild, and turn them into food, which gives me temporary buffs. And of course this is where I find you, Henry. You're always thinking with your stomach, dude. At that, we are then called to a council meeting, where we discuss the whereabouts of the magma creature, which turns out is an elder dragon! Apparently the Monster Hunter world has those. This brings us as to why we've come to the New World to begin with. The goal is to study this creature, not kill it, not hunt it, but to study it, as killing this creature would be very bad for the ecosystem.
Elder dragons have been with us since the dawn of time,
I am, yes.
altering the ecosystem, reshaping the land.
Yes,
moving
I know what an
disaster
elder dragon
ahead.
is.
Once every decade or so, they flock to this.
With the Fifth's help, we will find the missing link.
With that, I am then sent to my quarters, where I finally get to choose my mode of weaponry. I decide to take the charge blade out for a spin, but would then spend the next 20 minutes figuring out this flipping input. Eventually I gave up and just rebound the key to tab, and now I can confidently say that the charged sword is a good pick for me because it allows me to swap between light attacks and heavy attacks on a dime. Plus the light attack mode comes with a shield. For some reason, I didn't get how to turn the stored energy into usable charges, which would hinder my ability to use this thing effectively for a while, but I could still bonk things with it, and that's all that mattered. Content with my weapon of choice, I would then receive my first mission, which was to hunt down the Jagras, which were being a bother. I then spawned back at the camp, and the person who was now assigned to be my handler found, and promptly made my way into the Jagras territory so that I could kill as many as I could and turn them all into boots. Oh yeah, as for what Henry does, see, he helps me fight and also gives me heals when necessary. There is a limit to how much he can heal, though. Anyways, the Jagras put up a fight at first, but as soon as we took down 3 of them, the rest of them decided to go and hide, determining that this was not worth the risk. But unfortunately for them, we're called hunters for a reason. It took but a moment for us to track them to their hidey hole, where we proceeded to slaughter all of the rest of them. Hello, gentlemen!
Look out! Your health is low.
Keep it together, okay?
So once you complete a quest, there is a 1-minute timer before you're forcibly pulled back into home base, and in that time I was unable to collect my trophies as there were too many extra Jagras trying to kill me. Although as soon as we get back, we are told that the Kestodon population is starting to grow a little too abundant, Kestodons being these Pachycephalosaurus looking things. But before that, I wanted to see what I could craft with the materials I was able to obtain. Such as this juggernaut of a charge blade. Not only was its base power double the one I had equipped already, but it also had the blast elemental effect. Blast being it just does more damage. So I forged that sucker right up, so now for armor. I only had enough Jagra armor to forge 1 piece of hunter armor and enough bones to forge 1 piece of the bone armor. Now, you're able to replay old missions if you want to, say, farm materials, which is a darn good thing, because that's exactly what I ended up doing.
You can carve materials off of monsters.
Alright, I must collect all of the Jagra material that I can. So now that I've got a full set of new armor, it's time to do that next mission. So let's go slay some Kestodons. Can't see how this could possibly go wrong.
Hey, come here. Think I found something.
Hold on. Let me just collect materials. Looks like the Jagras left us a present.
Look at those Kestodon.
Something's up here.
That's a big boy! Great Jagra. We need to take it down.
Gotcha.
And so I set my sight on this new prey, for the great Jagra would make some fine armor. Carefully I stalked the creature, following every track, every sign of movement I could find. I used to follow it and pin it down so that I could make it into my latest trophy. Inevitably, I caught up to the great beast and commenced the battle. Aha! It was then that the Jagra decided it was outmatched and thus fled. You can run if you like, Jagra, but there's nowhere you can hide from me. After following it, I found that it went back to the other Jagras in the hope that it could retrieve itself some backup. This backup would prove a little futile, however, as I was an expert at slaying Jagras at this point. Seeing this, the creature fled again, and so I followed again. This time, I would put the creature down when I caught up.
Monster's been immobilized. Now's your chance.
Yeah! I did it!
Let's head back and report to the old man.
So I collected my prize and headed out with the team. Huh?
I think we got a lead.
Maybe. Let's check it out.
Ooh, what have we here?
Hey.
Ooh, that's a big boy. I'd like to mount this one onto my wall.
Well, you were right. There's our mark. Something's got him agitated.
Ooh, what's
Look
that?
over there. What in the heck is that? I've never seen anything like it.
You think it's from Zora Magdaros?
I'd say so.
But we
That
better
looks like
report back
something from
first.
the large
All right.
magma thing. Strikes me as familiar enough in that area. So he reported to the commander, and he decided that the giant dragon turd that the Puke Puke was guarding was worth research. But to do that, we would need to get past the Puke Puke, and so I had my next target. But before I could take on a creature of that caliber, I needed some upgrades, so I used the great Jagra skin to craft some more armor, and then promptly took off to hunt the Puke Puke. Just one problem. I have no idea where I'm going, which is not helpful when you're tasked with setting up a base camp so that you can actually hunt the creature, so I don't get to hunt it just yet. So I end up just aimlessly wandering and collecting any and all resources I come across, and killing and skinning anything that I come across. Eventually I did figure out where I need to go to set up camp, but I would immediately be faced with another challenge in the form of another creature to hunt. Aha! We have found the campsite. And, ooh. Wait. Bird up. That's right, we're hunting the bird up meme. Bird up! So this thing is a known pest and thief, and was therefore more likely to mess with the camp. So I was to hunt this thing effective immediately, which was real easy because I could just mark it on the map and follow the flies. Also, it only made 100 feet of distance before I caught up to it. And so I deployed the sneak attack. So so as you can see, the Kuluyaku is an absolute coward and would much sooner run away than pick a fight, forcing me to chase this darn thing all over the place before I could actually kill it. Once I got to its nest, I think this thing finally realized that it's either do or die, and it decided that if it's going down, it might as well go down swinging. But unfortunately for this beast, I swing a lot harder than it does.
The stamina cap is dropped. Eat some well-done steak to restore it to max.
And so I collected some Kuluyaku leather to turn into armor and went to set up the camp as tasked. Or, more accurately, report the location that the camp was to be set up. I then crafted a Kuluyaku jacket and figured that it's high time I actually figure out how to use this charge blade. So the issue I had is that in the sword mode I would charge it to max energy, but I wouldn't know how to turn it into the elemental charges. Until I figured out it was just a very simple keybind. Oh, I see. And then I'd figure out how to get some extra practice by doing a sort of side quest. It's basically just an arena and you kill everything in sight. I also got a bunch of Kestodon hide doing this. And with that, I felt I was now ready to take on the Puke, so let the hunt begin. So I started looking around the new camp, seeing if I could pick up any traces, any clues to where the Puke might be, and once I had caught the trail, there was nothing stopping me from hunting this creature down. So I followed the trail of feathers and footprints until I met the beast and begun battle. Hi-ya! Now there's one little trick to this creature. See, it spewed a lot of poison, which would be very harmful if I got caught in it. So I did have to be careful about that and dodge on a consistent basis. But Henry and I were able to keep up the pressure, giving this creature the beatdown of its life. Oh! Excuse me as I collect your tail. Henry, distract him. Hoya! Hiya! Hiya! Hoo-wah! And axe move! Elemental discharge! Yeah!
You did it! Now the commander can send someone out to see if that slag will lead us to Zoramatrix.
And now, my prize. Upon returning to base, the commander congratulated me for taking down the beast, as it would now allow researchers to study the giant dragon turd unimpeded. I then crafted a Puke skin jacket and decided that it's high time that Henry finally gets some upgrades. I then dispatched to my next assignment, which is to escort these researchers on their way to study another dragon deuce. And so I introduced the next biome, the Wild Spire Waste. As you can see, it is exactly what it sounds like. As for the escort itself, it largely goes incident-free, nothing really attacks us, and I'm able to just keep my eye on them while gathering resources. We do stumble into a roadblock when I am tasked with distracting a Rathian so they may slip past. Yeah, screw distraction, I am going to kill this thing and make it into my latest armor.
Run for your life! Go, just move on through. You might be able to use your slinger to create some kind of noise and distract them.
So this sucker not only hit like a truck, but it also had all of the health of a truck, which made defeating it extremely difficult. This battle was extremely long and difficult for me. But so long as I was fighting this thing, my handler and the scholars had the distraction they needed to get to where they have to go. But as the battle raged on, I would face my very first death. Oh, what? Ah, what? Gosh dang it. But I was not done, for I went right back to challenge the Rathian to a rematch. Seeing as this fight picked up exactly where it left off, my healing was very limited as I had exhausted a bunch of it during the first round. But I was not deterred, for by pressing on, I would be able to learn how to dodge this creature's attacks. And by doing so, I would need to heal less, and by doing that, I would be able to deal more damage to the creature than the damage would deal to me. And so eventually... Not only did I win round 2, but I also cut off the creature's tail, depriving it of one of its greater weapons, allowing me to dodge more easily. So we begin round 3. Hold on. Ow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Henry. You are very well appreciated.
Let's see what kind of present Zora Magdaros has left for us.
Gosh dang it! Round 4. Fight!
Let's see what kind of present.
Oh, where are you going, huh? Unable to follow the Rathian due to its ability to fly, I finally decided to go meet up with the Geek Squad. Now these researchers were so thirsty for knowledge that they were practically salivating at the chance to study Zora Magdaros' waste. But before work could get done, this guy decides to show up. Now while dealing with the Baroth, I actually catch the Rathian flying back to a place that I can actually get to. So completely abandoning the mission, I decide to go pursue the Rathian again. So, here's how that went. I have now come to the conclusion that the Rathian might be a bit out of my league, for now at least. So instead I took a side quest where I had to hunt 2 great Jagras, because I don't know why I figured that it had some decent rewards or something. So I went to go do that, and upon approaching the first great Jagra, I had this fun little experience. Found him! Whoa! Hi! I then waited for the Murdosaurus Rex to go away for a little bit before proceeding to actually kill the first great Jagra, which with my upgraded gear was incredibly easy. Hi there! Upon exiting the cave to find the other Jagra, I found this guy was still lurking around, and he decided to come and introduce himself a second time, at which point I thought, you know what, might as well give it a shot. Bring it on, old Goliath! Ow. Now the trick with the Anjanith is that while its attacks are not that hard to dodge, it does move around a lot, which makes it kinda difficult in order for me to land my heavy attacks. So a strategy I came up with was to use light attack combos, and if I got under it, then I would deploy the heavy attacks. Hey, will you get closer to me so that I can smack? Okay, no, you're gonna run away. That's fine. Oh. Yeah, let's see if we can lure him out into the open. Come on! Over here, buddy! Whoa, you are angry now, aren't ya? Angry would be putting it lightly, because as you can see, it breathes fire now. And when you catch fire, you're going to need to roll for your life before you burn to death, and then you're going to need to heal very quickly before the monster decides to finish you off with bludgeoning damage. This made the fight so much more difficult, but nothing I couldn't handle.
See anything useful lying around?
Don't die, 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 don't die! Okay. Now seemingly beaten within an inch of its life, it limped back to what I assumed to be its nest, where I discovered that the Anjanath has something of a rivalry with the Jagras. Oh, hey!
Fighting each other? Maybe we can use this to our advantage.
Kill two birds with one stone, brothers! Yeah, baby! Sufficient to say, I gained a massive ego boost from this. As much as I appreciated the Great Jagra's help, I was still on a mission to kill it, so I had to still do that. I then found out that by killing the Anjanath, I would be able to take my already busted Defender Shield and turn it into a ludicrously powerful, better Defender Shield. And if I could get more Anjanath parts, it would become the strongest armor I would have access to yet. So I went right back into the Ancient Forest to see if I could find another Anjanath, as well as do some general resource gathering along the way. I did not find any Anjanaths, but I did find a Puke, which I turned into a hood, which was a better armor piece than what I had previously equipped. I then figured I should stop wasting time and actually progress the story a little bit. So I went back to the Wildspire Wastes to hunt down that Barath that had interrupted the researchers from being able to study Zoro Magdaros'. Once I actually found the thing, I made very short work of it.
You did it, partner!
I'd collect my loot and go back to guarding the Geek Squad while they did their thing. And that's where I met this guy, a veteran hunter from the First Fleet. We talked for a bit, he said he'd be joining the overall team, and we went back to home base. Upon returning to home base, I was immediately informed that one of the researchers had gone missing and I was to track him down. But before I do that, I've got armor to craft. I then got me a nice hearty meal and got right on with the mission. I then found that you can find stray palicos and temporarily recruit them, which I think is really cool. I would then spend more time than I care to admit looking for some kind of trail or clue or just something that I could use to find this guy. Eventually I did find the nerd's trail, and it was also littered with spikes, which told me one of two things. Either he himself was following this trail of spikes to study them, because he's a nerd, or he was running from something, and that something shot spikes at him. Upon catching up, I concluded that it was the former, as whatever those spikes were inside of a Baroth.
God, don't let him find me. Don't let him find me.
You alright?
Oh, I saw it.
I am concerned.
No, the Geratotus, that didn't kill the Baroth. It was,
Hi there! Meet the Geratotus, a monster for which I may or may not have been grossly overgeared for. Hey, get back here! Get back here!
But I can't shake this feeling that there's something really bad about those thorns.
Oh, you think? I then return to base with the Scholar, where the commander drops this bombshell.
So I have a proposition for all of you. I say we try and capture Zora once it gets there.
Sure, let's capture Zora Magdaros. It's not like he's an elder dragon, one of the most powerful and ancient beings in the entire world. Are you insane? And unfortunately, by being a hunter, I am contractually bound to put up with whatever bullcrap my leader comes up with. So I make some armor in preparation for my next assignment, which is handed to me by the chief botanist, aka the nerd I saved. He wants me to test out an invention of his while I'm out going to hunt something called a Tobikadachi. So I go out into the forest to find out that he just pretty much handed me a ghillie suit. But while hunting down the Tobikadachi, I pick up the scent of something much grander. That's right, there's another Anjanith about, and as soon as I discovered this, I became laser focused on hunting down this creature so that I could turn it into my newest pair of boots. And furthermore, with my new gear in tow, taking down this beast would be much easier than the last one. Where do you think you're going? You don't see me. I'm invisible. Where's my... Did I act... Oh gosh dang it. Oh well. So this is the Tobikadachi, the thing that I was assigned to kill, and the thing that I immediately ignored in favor of seeing if the Anjanith had respawned anywhere, and luckily it did respawn. As for what just happened, see, as you know, when a monster gets below a certain amount of health, they will run away to certain points in the map, and this particular point that the Anjanith chose to run to just happened to be where the story encounter was supposed to take place. Anyways, I eventually caught up to it and finished it off. Will die! 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 I then went to kill the assigned creature, which was actually much harder because it kept paralyzing me.
You've been hit with Thunderblight. Be careful. You'll get stunned more easily now.
Eventually I did wise up to its fighting style and avoid its attacks, which allowed me the leverage to put this thing in the ground. will die, foul beast! I killed it with a piercing butt. Oh, that's hilarious.
Botanist.
I reported to the botanist, and he seemed quite satisfied with the result of his ghillie suit. I then turned the Angenith I had killed into vambraces, as it just occurred to me that I turned the last Angenith into boots already. I was then given my next assignment, which was to take down the terrifying Angenith. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, I just think it's funny, if I'm being honest, because I've already killed 2 of these things, and they're building it up to be this big, terrifying challenge, even though, yeah. Although on the bright side, because it's an actual quest, the quest rewards will just be more Angenith parts, meaning I should be able to go out and actually get the rest of the materials I need for the rest of the Angenith armor set. Because I already killed 2 of these things, I'm just going to cut to the finishing blow. I knew I forgot something. Okay, so the reason I was supposed to kill the Angenith is because we were worried that it would attack base while we were out killing Zora Magdaros. Catching Zora Magdaros. I meant catching Zora Magdaros. And so the commander confirms that we're all set, and he's just waiting for everybody to come and confirm to him that they are personally ready to go take down Zora Magdaros. So I then go to craft the rest of my Angenith armor, except I still don't have enough for the rest of the Angenith armor. Luckily, there's an event quest that's literally just hunting down 2 of the darn things. Sorry, Jagros. Collateral damage. If you wanted to leave here with your lives, you should have just let me handle it. Okay, this time I had all the materials for the rest of the Angenith set, with enough materials left over to give Henry a full Angenith set. And so, because it was mandatory, I now set off to go capture the Elder Dragon. I would like to go on record and say that I still think this is a terrible idea, and this would never in a million years work.
This is gonna work.
Chief, Commander.
So,
We'll get it ready by morning. I promise.
I'll hold you to it. When the time comes, you know what to do.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The operation will commence at daybreak.
Sounds like we got our work cut out for us, eh, old man?
Oh, here we go. Let the disaster commence.
Get to your posts now!
And so the hour of truth had arrived. The first step to take down Zora Magdaros was to weaken it, and that meant shooting cannonballs at it relentlessly to seemingly no effect. Eventually, I would be stationed on the ballista, where I was to tie down the beast to seemingly no effect. Magdaros would then bust through the wooden wall as though it were a sand castle. At that point, we would change tactics and hop onto Magdaros' back in order to strike his weak points, but we did this to seemingly, guess what? Some amount of effect, actually. He seemed to find this very painful. Also, there was a bunch of ore that dropped pretty good loot around this place, so I guess there was some point to doing this. Anyways, we destroyed these magma core things, and I think Zora had enough of our bullcrap because he called for reinforcements. So here's the thing about that. Zora's not the only one who can call reinforcements. good. It's the dude! Hey!
He's from the first! Master!
Ah. Oh, they just grow right back.
No way.
Yeah, what did you guys think that was gonna do? So yeah, the Elder Dragon made an absolute joke out of our operation.
However, I think we have a chance to salvage the situation if we can pick up its trail on the other side.
Got
Uh-huh.
some good news from the field team on that front. Tectonic movement from when Zora passed through created a fissure in the Great Ravine. That fissure is our ticket to catching up with the beast.
There's
Right.
no point. We exhausted our supplies during the last operation. Even if we did track it down, there's no way we'll be able to pull off anything of that scale.
Yeah.
Then what should we do, Commander?
Oh, this ought to be good. Oh wait, I need to click the
We'll have
button.
to send a ship to the guild.
A ship? But with the skies and seas the way they are.
It doesn't matter. We cannot proceed without notifying the guild of the situation. We should send word and wait for their decision. Captain, can I count on you?
Alright, so now we have a new place to explore. But first things first, see, between streams I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts, as one does, when I stumbled upon a video that was what your Monster Hunter World weapon says about you. And it got to the charge blade, and it was then that I learned something. Which leads me to ask, why did nobody tell me that you could charge the shield? Then with the shield charge, perform this massive frick-off uber attack. Seriously, it's like I'm wielding Stormbreaker. Why did no one tell me that I was wielding Stormbreaker? Anyways, with my new mastery over the charge blade, I was thirsty for a rematch against an old friend. That is right, the Rathian's back. Anyways, I figured this would be a good place to explain how the shield charging actually works. So when you charge the shield, it will stay charged for a few minutes, and during this time you are able to perform some special combos, in addition to the shield itself being able to block more damage. Now, one of these combos is the aforementioned Uber attack, and there's actually a few ways you can perform this move. Now, I won't get into how to perform any particular combo, because the Charge Blade has, if memory serves, like 60-something combo moves that you can perform. Anyways, with the shield charged, you can also do extra damage whenever you perform a shield bash, and furthermore, you can charge the actual sword so that the sword and shield mode is able to do viable damage. And with that explanation out of the way, I feel it worth noting that when cutting down the Rathian fight in order to bring up the points that actually fit what I'm telling you, I would end up defeating the Rathian. I then found out that I could create a Rathian Charge Blade, and while technically, yeah, it had lower base attack, it also had the Poison elemental effect, which I think would be really good. So I figured I would go out, ran some Rathian parts, and I could make the Charge Blade easy peasy. I spent the next hour doing this. Utilizing the cactus trap. Oh, he does not seem... Oh, he did not like that one bit, now did he? After an hour of hunting Rathian after Rathian, I was still a little bit short of being able to actually craft what I wanted, so I decided to just suck it up and continue the story instead. That is to say, we decided to go through the Great Ravine to witness the path of destruction that Zoro Magdaros had left in his wake of us trying and failing miserably to capture him. And that's when we found a new area called the Coral Highlands, where we were immediately ambushed and I passed out. When I woke up, I found myself in a flying research base, which upon investigation I found was owned and captained by the 3rd Fleet. And to make a long story short, I would basically now be able to use this place as a secondary home base slash respawn point. Once I got my bearings, I also came to a decision. That I should continue grinding Rathians until I finally get that charge blade. Look, I just really want that charge blade, okay? So another hour later, I had not only the charge blade, but also most of the Rathian armor. I didn't care enough to also get the pants. So with my new armor, I took on the assignment of going into the Coral Highlands to secure a new campsite. Also, can I just say, I flippin' love this area. This might be my favorite area. Granted, I'm kind of biased towards corally areas. I like the ocean. Anyways, just the vibe, the overall, the vibrance, all of it is just awesome. what can I say? I like what I like. Anyways, not long after my arrival, I find the footprints of a new creature, and without anything really better to do, I decide to make this thing my latest prey and promptly start hunting. And after a while of stalking whatever sign of this thing I could find, I came face to face with the Tzit Yaku. And well, yes, technically the goal was just to sight this thing and not kill it. This is Monster Hunter, where you hunt monsters. Can you blame me for the action I took? Anyways, the gimmick with this thing is that it had a flash attack, but I had the very easy workaround of just throwing up my shield to block the flash. However, there was one flaw or weakness that this charge blade had, which my other one did not, and that's the sharpness wore out much faster. Although in my opinion, that's still worth it, because the poison damage seemed to be doing its job, because the thing rather quickly up and ran, as monsters tend to do when their health gets low enough, prompting me to give chase and continue the beating. Significantly hurt, the creature limped back to its nest to see if it could sleep off its injuries, as if I were gonna give it that chance. I collected my new trophy and continued exploring, occasionally running into these things, and then beating them up and harvesting them to see what they were good for. I also decided to do some resource gathering to see if I could find any new stuff. I also took a crack at these things, which didn't really go anywhere as I didn't have any effective ranged weaponry. Afterwards, I finally established the new camp and returned to the new flying base, where this guy was waiting for us. We discussed how the Coral Highlands has a lower level, and down at the lower level might have something that can help us track and capture Zora Magdaros, because we're still trying to do that for some reason. I would then be tasked with hunting something called a Paolumu, as its materials would allow us to upgrade the flying research base in such a way that we can actually fly it into the depths of the Coral Highlands. So off I went to track this thing down. Now, as I tracked this thing down, I also made my way towards a Palico, which was marked on the map, since that would give me a little bit of extra help. So I recruited my temporary new ally and proceeded to zero in on my assigned prey. What? It's... What is this? Oh! The angry fluff. Face to face with a creature that I refused to take seriously, the battle commenced. So the way the Paolumu fought is that it would puff itself up and then relentlessly attack its opponents, which would leave me kind of stunned every once in a while. But given enough damage, it would unpuff and become easier to dodge. Then, as I got used to its attack patterns, I beat it to an absolute pulp. Ooh, are we about to see a turf war? Ow. Where do you think you're going? Yay! We did it! With the parts from the inflatable fluff collected, we were now able to descend through the Coral Highlands into a new area called the Rotten Vale. And so we set out with our newly upgraded airship. What's happening? We descend to the depths.
There, heads up.
Oh, what's that?
This'll definitely complicate
My
setting
latest
up camp.
prey has been located. Excellent.
I know.
What are you doing?
Catch!
What? What did you just pass me? What was that? You think we'll pick up? Hi. Oh, it was probably some of that. Having officially touched down in the Rotten Vale, I was presented with a brand new area to explore. So after aimlessly wandering for a bit, I picked up the trail of a brand new monster, and given that my task was to just kind of explore the area, I figured why the heck not? At which point I discovered this spiky roly-poly called a Radobon. Now the Radobon wasn't all around that difficult to avoid, but it was covered in a very thick armor which made it a little bit harder to damage than normal. But it took me exactly 10 seconds to figure out that by attacking the lower portions I would be able to easily put this thing in the ground. Hey, where are you going? Oh yeah, if you manage to hit this thing hard enough, you could just remove the armor, which made killing this thing so much easier. Hiya, 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 hiya. Oh shoot, I got its tail. And that's how we do. I collected my prize and continued exploring as I still had Sight a Great Gyros on my task list. Eventually I made my way to this area where the air was extremely toxic, forcing me to periodically drink potions just to stay alive. And this is where I would find the Great Gyros, hiding out in this toxic area, safe from anything that wasn't able to actually breathe in the air. Except I have potions to keep me alive. Oh, whoops. So yeah, in addition to the toxic air, it just had the ability to cut my health in half, which allowed it to kick my tail. But since I technically completed the mission, I decided to head back, and on the way back we met this lady, who has been down here researching the Rotten Vale for years, and is also the one who saved our butts when we got ambushed the first time coming to the Coral Highlands. We then part ways with her and head back to the 3rd Fleet. And when I reported that I didn't find anything on Zora Magdaros, the 3rd Fleet's chief basically just said, "Alright, then go deeper." So we set sail in order to do just that.
Hey, I think I found something.
Oh, did you now?
Let's set her down. Or not.
Ow. But going on here? Explain yourselves.
As I thought.
What do you mean, as you thought? Would you care to elaborate on that? Hi. So it turns out we were trespassing on the hunting grounds of the thing that had previously ambushed us, and so we could not actually progress until it is out of the way. And so began my next hunt, the hunt for the Legenia. Now, because this thing mostly traveled by air, I had a hard time finding anything I could actually use to track it down. That is to say, when I found the darn thing, it was because I stumbled upon it. So this fight was actually pretty difficult for me. Reason number one is that it hung in the air for a lot of the time, making it difficult for me to actually hit, because I didn't really have any ranged weaponry. Reason number two was that it uses the ice element, which reduced my stamina to practically nothing. Basically, this was just a really long, difficult fight for me, but for the sake of time, I'm still just going to reduce it to a highlights reel. Oh, that's... whoops. Yeah! We did it!
All right. Now we can get to the base of the Rotten Vale. Come on. Let's head back to the research base.
Yeah, let me just collect this thing. I then found out the Legiana armor was better than what I had already equipped. So 1 hour of grinding later and I had a sleek new armor set. Anyways, back to the story where I have to get to the deepest depths of the Rotten Vale. So I descend past the toxic gas area where I actually find evidence of Zora Magdaros being here. And then we got ambushed by this thing. Meet the Adageron, whose gimmick is that he gives you the bleeding effect. The bleeding effect being where if you move, you take damage, and the only way to get rid of it is to crouch down and not move. Here's the problem with that. If you crouch down and not move, you are susceptible to getting attacked. Suffice to say that I found this fight to be extremely annoying, but ultimately, nothing I couldn't handle. Yay!
I'm waiting for you back at camp.
We then meet up with the lady again where she proceeds to explain that the Coral Highlands / Rotten Vale is the final resting place of Elder Dragons. This is where they come to lay down and have their eternal slumber. It is the bodies of these Elder Dragons that are able to sustain these gigantic coral. Which then begs the question, where the flip did Magdaros go? I mean, he was here, but then he apparently took off, and you would think there was only so many places that something that big could hide. I then returned to Astera, where the commander pretty much concurred with what I just said. He then suggests that we seek out some people called the Wyverians, as they typically know the whereabouts of Elder Dragons better than we do. Who are the Wyverians, you ask? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Oh, it's those guys! So I guess that means first Wyverian is just a specific tribe of these little dudes. So I got right to tracking one of them down, which took longer than I care to admit. Eventually the Handler and I individually come to the end of this trail where we are ambushed by a Rathalos. We proceed to run for the Handler's life, and after this little slip and slide, we end up running into one of the first Wyverians that we were looking for. He says he'll only tell us where Magdaros is after we defeat 2 specific creatures, one of them being the very Rathalos that we were just ambushed by. Alright, I can do that. I mean, the Rathalos is just a reskinned Rathian, right? And I've defeated plenty of Rathians, so how hard could this be? Ow. Ah, look, I'm stunned. Ow. Shoot. Turns out, fairly difficult. See, the Rathalos is a bit different from the Rathian for a couple of reasons. Number one, it hung out in the air all the time, making it hard for me to hit. So any chance I got where I could actually reach the darn thing, I took it. Furthermore, as you probably saw from the previous footage, it can stun you, and it is not one to waste opportunity when it does. So to avoid that, I would end up focusing more on dodging than damage. Which for a while worked. I even hacked its tail off and got it to run away so I could do phase 2. So I guess I'll cut to that now. With the beast wounded, I tracked it back to its nest for the final stretch. So, here's how that went. Come on.
I'll get the quest ready for you. Just say the word when you're ready.
With the Rathalos defeated, I decided to forge some better armor than what I already had. But I've decided that I am not going to grind for a full armor set, like, ever again. That takes way too much of my time. Anyways, with the Rathalos defeated, I returned to the Wastes in order to hunt down the second creature specified by the Wyverian. And a creature whose name would undoubtedly reflect my experience fighting it. The Diablos. Jokes aside, this really was the most difficult fight for me thus far, because the Diablos hits like a flipping truck, to the point that I had to learn to actually use my shield just to survive. So the strategy that would end up working best for me against this thing is to pretty much just hold my shield, wait for it to attack it back, and then throw up my shield again. And it would always be whenever I broke this pattern that I would end up dying. Incidentally, it was also while fighting this thing that I would finally learn the value of cooking and that health boost that it gives you. Okay, montage time. Hi there. I should also probably... Literally, like right as I put my shield down. Don't be stunned, don't be stunned, don't be stunned. Oh yeah, no, that's a difference. That shield is definitely a difference. That is not at all what I meant to do, but it works. Frig nuggets. Oh! Oh! Yahoo! Get the guy! With the Diablos defeated, the Wyverian then tells us not only the location of Zora Magdaros, but also tells us the fact that should Zora Magdaros die of old age in anywhere that is not the Coral Highlands, the energy released from his body will kill pretty much everything on this entire island. Also, there was a lot cut out of the Diablos fight. I spent 2 whole hours just trying and dying before I managed to actually kill the darn thing. So we relay what the Wyverian told us to the chief, and he decides that it would probably be in everybody's best interest if we, rather than capture him, simply drove him onto the open sea so that when he died, that energy was released in a place where there wasn't anything really to harm. And it's then that the engineer shows up with enough gear and supplies for us to actually pull off just that, including a new weapon called a Dragonator. So in preparation, I'd take the spoils of my numerous attempts on the Diablos life and craft myself some new gear, and then I have myself a nice hearty meal before setting out to take on the Elder Dragon with a mountain of fire upon its back, Zora Magdaros.
All right. Let's go over the operation. The subterranean channel Zora Magdaros is using continue deep underground. We'll have one shot to divert it here when it surfaces. If we let it slip by, it's out of our reach forever. That's why I'm breaking out the big guns.
I wasn't particularly on board with the whole Captain Zora Magdaros thing, but now I see that it is key to our survival and the survival of everything else.
We'll use it to drive Zora back and divert it out into the open sea.
It's coming.
Move out! Use everything at your disposal. I want eyes everywhere. Fight hard and stay smart. Hunters, we need to weaken Zora Magdaros enough to capture it. Once you're on its back, give all you've got!
And just like that, the operation had begun. And, much like our attempt to capture Zora Magdaros, the goal was to destroy some magma cores, as those were the Elder Dragon's weak points, and I also got some resource gathering out of the way while I was at it. I could also shoot down these stalactites to significantly quicken the process of wearing the big guy down. Once I had broken enough of these magma cores, I was moved to cannon duty to further wear down the oversized Bowser until he got close enough that we could use the Dragonator. So I fired away until such a moment presented itself, and when it did...
Zora Magdaros still isn't weak enough.
Now, now! Hold nothing back!
Commander, this is it. The chance we've been waiting for.
All right, this is the last phase. Where's my Dragonator?
Ready when you are.
Good. Fire!
I was just gonna drill. It's gotta be some pretty hot water. And so the Elder Dragon swam out to open sea where he could die peacefully without the expense of innumerable lives, thus bringing an end to the Zora Magdaros arc. And thank Capcom for the fact that this is split into cleanly cut arcs, because that's the only reason I was able to make this whole 2-part video thing work. Speaking of which, I will be seeing you guys in part 2. See ya!